Alright, this is my review for the graphic novel adaptation of Animorphs Book 1, The Invasion, illustrated by Chris Grine. Spoilers for the original series incoming. So, I guess I should start by addressing the most noticeable aspect of this comic, the artwork. Overall, it's okay. It's not exactly what I would have chosen for an Animorphs comic, but it's serviceable. And given how scarce Animorphs content is at this point in time, I'll take what I can get. Something else to take note of is that Tobias has long hair. While this doesn't contradict anything, I often mistake him for Rachel in some panels due to them both being blonde. And speaking of Rachel, her eyes are black instead of blue like the book describes. She seems to be a lot more jovial than she is in the book. Then again, it's probably because I always read her lines as being angst-ridden and filled with rage. The Andalites have ears that are slanted down for some reason, and they seem thicker than how the books describe them. The hork-bajir look like ground fighting type Pokemon, and with how they're designed, it's hard to imagine them living in trees. And even though I like David Mattingly's illustration better, the Taxxons still look creepy in this adaptation. In spite of any issues I may have with these designs, overall, they're okay. I'll say this, Chris Grine did an amazing job with Visser 3's Antarean Bogg morph. When Visser 3 eats Elfangor, it's almost verbatim what I imagined while reading the book. The morphing process looks pretty good. Chris Grine definitely captured the weirdness that is often described in the books pretty well. And this might sound like a minuscule detail, but I liked the design he chose for the police officer that brings Cassie to the Yeerk pool. It's not something I would have thought of off the top of my head. When Marco's about to acquire Big Jim, he makes a reference to the movie King Kong instead of King Kong vs. Godzilla, like in the book. This is a change I'm actually in favor of. It makes the story more timeless. The overall design for the Yeerk pool looks alright. When Chris Grine designed the Yeerk pool in this comic, he seems to have drawn inspiration from the puzzle with Jake and Tiger Morph fighting Visser 3 and combined it with the interior cover of Book 17, The Underground. I do think the Yeerk pool could have been a bit darker, but then again, that could just be the TV series influencing how I visualize certain things. Anyway, the Taxxon's blood appears to be a light blue instead of yellow like the book described. I mean, it almost looks like water in some cases. That was weird. The fight in the Yeerk pool shows the hork-bajir having purple blood. If they can keep that color consistent in future installments, the graphic novel will have officially succeeded where the books failed in that regard. I always thought the hork-bajir should have had green blood that resembles chlorophyll, but that's just me. Side note, I like Visser 3's multi-headed fire-breathing morph better in the puzzle. Something else I noticed is that after Marco gets punched by Jake for suggesting that Tom might be a controller, the graphic novel completely removed the scene when Marco ensnares Jake in bed sheets to get him to calm down. Found that kind of strange. Overall, this graphic novel was a decent adaptation. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video.